Hello, happy Saint Ahmad's Day. Forget Paddy, he's out of it right now. He's somewhere crying on some Liverpool fan cam channel. Never mind Paddy, you poor thing. Instead, we are here. Oh my giddy aunt. Unbelievable. We're going to have to kick off an apology though, because I do understand that yesterday a stream was set up, ready to go. And unfortunately, my lovely co-host Dan, not this Dan, the other Dan, unfortunately did not manage to appear due to the fact that work needed to call him in. So that happened. The screen wasn't deleted, obviously. I had zero chance of deleting anything whatsoever, as most people's text messages will absolutely lay out the fact that, my God, I couldn't even read properly, let alone write. So I think if I tried to delete that, YouTube might have just gone entirely and nobody would have had that. So who knows what buttons I could have pushed yesterday. But there we go. So sorry for anybody who was really looking forward to preview, but we are hoping to make up for it tonight because it's party time. And that's how I feel anyway. Danny B, how are you feeling, sunshine? Lovely to have you here.
Over the moon, mate. Over the moon. The game was so topsy-turvy, I think my heart rate's just getting back to normal now.
And you know what? Fair play, Chris Welch. Straight in there. A Liverpool fan. Well-deserved. No excuses. So not going to be bitter. Thank you, Chris. Lovely to have you here. I'm sure we will tone down the celebrations slightly. I mean, no, I can't guarantee that. I can't. I tried, but I can't. And of course, Munzie there. Great win. Meant at the end. Still can't believe it. Yes, me too. And of course, we've got Matt. He's back here once again. Lovely to have you here, sir. How the bloody hell are you?
A lot better now. I think, it was, if I use one of your puns, Barry, a mad game and have a bit of a play on words. But no, I think, God, it was painful, then it was good, then it was painful, then it was good. And I think in the end, I think just the word relief comes to mind. Especially I think of a game of that magnitude, against a local rival, a big local rival. I think just pleased to come out the other side, really. And let's roll on the semis.
It was definitely one of those, wasn't it? It was always going to be a big match because it's Liverpool. And I just remember driving home from Kent where I was, and I was listening to the women, and it was dull. I'm not going to lie, but we'll talk about that on the women's channel tomorrow. But we got the win. Just sitting there thinking, can we do it? Can we do it? And I wasn't sure. I was nervous. But Dan, didn't take long. Less than 10 minutes into the game, and out of what seemingly nowhere, it was a brilliant start for us. And it's that man again. It's Scott McTominay in the right place at the right time to just shove the ball across the line and give us what at the time was a deserved lead. How did you feel about that opening 15 minutes? Because it was quite something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think like you said there, Barry, kind of come out of nowhere, but I thought we were absolutely immense. First 20 minutes, couldn't have faulted any of them. The press was good. We were first to every second ball. We were getting ahead of Liverpool, which Liverpool are one of the best teams around at picking up second balls. The press, we were outplaying them, and it was nice to see for the first 10, 15 minutes, and then to get the goal on top of it was just the icing on the cake. And it was just how we could we push on, or were we going to kind of go back into our shell after we scored? And it's all that, in-game management and stuff that obviously we'll come into it later on. But yeah, no, I thought first 15, 20 minutes were absolutely excellent. Couldn't have faulted them.
It was good, of course, Matt, to have Rasmus Højlund back in the starting lineup. Aaron Wan-Bissaka there as well, shifted out to left back. How's your feeling looking at that starting lineup? And then what did you make, Matt, of that? I'm going to call it goal of the season contender.
Yeah, I think lineup-wise, it was obviously quite interesting. I think it's one of them where you look at it, and I know you alluded to sort of McTominay. It seems to be like I don't know what's the word. Like he picks up the form when needed. Like when we're a little bit sort of struggling, he finds goals and he pops up with the important goals. But I think it was an interesting lineup. Obviously, like you mentioned there, terms of Wan-Bissaka and sort of shifting him out to that side. And then, I think it was interesting because, like Dan said there, we started well for sort of 15, 20 minutes and then found ourselves 2-1 down at half time. So I think that was a bit of a killer blow. And then, I read a few comments on Twitter and people criticising the lineup as they do. And then the manager, but I think it's always a difficult one. You start really, really well. Everyone's up for it, and then you find yourselves down. But I think we got there in the end. I know we're going to go into more detail about sort of chances and how the game went. But it was one of them. I'm just looking at comments now, talking about sort of the chances and things like that. And I think there's one that says there about a goal, give us the breathing space, and then we didn't keep up that momentum. And I'd fully agree. I think, again, start well. Little bit wobbly, but we got back into it and we got the result in the end.
I'm sorry, Box here talking about McTominay had another big chance to make it 2-0, but fluffed his lines. There's a few people that had some opportunities and fluffed their lines during the game, but I'm sure they're going to get mentioned. It's bound to happen. That's what we do whilst we are here. Yes, it was a scare to see both of them in, but I think they did incredibly well also. And I mean, you say we conceded 3 goals, it's worrying. I mean, it is Liverpool. We've conceded 7 against them before, so some would call this positively brilliant compared to that absolute nightmare of a day. Dan, you obviously haven't had a chance to mention what you thought of the starting lineup, but please do. And within that, give us a little thought as to how you felt Aaron Wan-Bissaka did at left back, because obviously, after that 15 minutes, we let Liverpool get back into the game. We didn't really, as Matt just said, build on the momentum. And as a result, obviously, we just switched off for that last 5 minutes of the first half. And as a result, it did leave us with, from the delights of the McTominay goal all the way through to the despair of thinking, here we go again, what's going to happen now? What did you think of it? Because they didn't feel like great goals to concede.
Yeah, when I seen the lineup, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't too worried about Wan-Bissaka coming back in. I thought that was the right choice. I was more worried about the midfield because I'd heard Casemiro was injured and I seen it was McTominay and Mainoo, and I posted before the game, I was like, Mainoo's going to have one of the games of his life to cover McTominay, to cover Bruno running around like headless chicken, cover all these gaps, which, to be fair to him, he absolutely did. I thought it was immense, Mainoo, before he come off, but yeah, I thought the goals we conceded, both avoidable if you're being critical. I think Wan-Bissaka got a bit of stick for the second one, but they were playing out from the back and messing around. And, they give him the ball in the left back position. He's got absolutely nowhere to go with it. I don't know what they wanted him to do. And obviously Bruno needed to be stronger as well when he got tackled. There was a lot of mistakes in the lead up to the goals. I think both of them goals just before half time. It's a horrible time to concede anyways, but when you concede from your own doing, it's even worse, isn't it? So that's what makes the result even more remarkable for me, because it was easy for them to just come out second half and heads drop, because we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen it this season where the heads drop and we give leads away, and it felt like that was the kind of game it was going to be. So that's what makes the result even better.
And muted, which is not a good way to host a show. Let's try that again. What I was saying there was, it was just a half-time arrived, and I'm sitting there thinking, this can't happen, surely not. And as you said, the goals were just so poor. They weren't really good goals. And we've seen it in the comments, some people mentioned there were some deflections. But, I mean, the second one in particular annoyed me. And, to give Liverpool their due, when they press, it's a thing of beauty, because it is. You've got to be honest, because I was watching it, you could see it. It was like a net just closing, and they all came up together. They all worked well, and it annoyed me to watch because I could see it happening, and I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. And poor old Aaron Wan-Bissaka with his right foot trying to play out. Bruno Fernandes bodied off of a ball that he really couldn't have any complaints about, I don't think. And then before we know it, we're 2-1 down. How did you feel at half time? Were you sitting there thinking, well, this will probably be it? Or was there a part of you that thought, well, we've seen that we can play against Liverpool. We can get them on the back foot as we did for the first 15 minutes. Maybe we're going to make it into the second half. And if we start again the same way as we started the first, we might possibly get back into it.
Yeah, I think it was one of them at halftime. I think frustration was the word. I think, like you say, having started well to then mess up. Obviously, deflections can't be helped, but it's still annoying. And I think it was one of them where obviously, you use halftime to regroup. And I think for me, it was important that the first 15, 20 minutes of that second half, like you say, we started the same as the first half, if not better. And I think, listen, they had probably better opportunities than us in the second half. Certainly, I think shot-wise created more. But yeah, I think it was one of them. Like we've seen games this season where, like you said, there's either been a collapse or there's been a big turnaround. And then playing on my mind was which one's it going to be? Which team is going to come out second half? Is it going to be one that's fighting, or is it one that's just going to roll over? Luckily, eventually we did get there. But I think the more the game grew on, until we got that sort of equalising goal, I think the word I just used was frustrated. I think, it took till 2 minutes, 3 minutes from time for Anthony to take it to extra time. Rashford had missed God knows how many sitters, and I think you can probably tell from our group chat he was getting a bit annoyed. And then, we just had a habit of popping up right in the dying seconds and grabbing a winner. So listen, I'll take that all day long. Obviously, you can sit here and analyse performances and who did what and tactics all day long. But at the end of the day, we're sitting looking at a win against a local rival in a quarter-final, having potentially sort of had a bit of a rough game in terms of the middle section of it. But we've patched it together and we've won.
Fair points. If we don't analyse the game, it will be literally the world's shortest show ever on AFU, and that would be great for some people, I'm sure. But yeah, absolutely, he's not wrong. And again, Dan, also in that first half, Liverpool did score, and it was just offside, which was delightful to watch. And it was nice to see VAR working as God intended, not because it didn't seem that long. You looked at it, you went, could be, but the lines were drawn and it was nice and quick. We weren't sitting there worrying about is his toenail off or, should he have shaved his eyebrows before he started playing? It was none of that. It was just, no, he's offside. There's a blatant line there. But the signs were there, weren't they? They seemed to be trying to get down that left in the same way that we were going down the left also. They were coming down our left. So it was all happening on that side of the pitch. And again, it was just that cut across, the sort of goal we've been conceding a hell of a lot this season. And again, it was all coming from that area.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things I really did criticise first half. You could see what was coming. Obviously, the ruled out goal from Endo was just a warning sign. But I think the first 20 minutes when we were playing well, one of the things we done well was Wan-Bissaka was marking Salah. And, he was marking him out of the game. But then Salah kind of got wise to it. And he was keeping himself wide and giving the players options, and that's how I can't remember the centre back's name. Is it Kwanzaa? Managed to just run through our midfield because we'd kind of put someone out there to watch Salah. Wan-Bissaka was out there wide as well, and they were making all the right moves, and you could see it happening, but we weren't changing anything. You could see they were changing in the game, thinking we need to do something different. We were just doing the same thing over and over again. And like you say, it was inevitable they were going to score. It was just a matter of when. And I was just kind of hoping we could get to half time, really. And that was in the lead. So the fact we went in behind, I was absolutely raging.
That's a good word to use, absolutely, because I was not feeling particularly joyful at that moment either. But Matt, for you, I want to ask you a little bit about Scott McTominay, because obviously he came with Casemiro because, surprise, surprise, we added somebody new to the injury list, and it was Casemiro this time. But Scott McTominay came in. Now he gets a lot of bad press. People saying he's not a great holding midfielder. He doesn't do this, that, or the other. But for me, Scott McTominay, I love that man. Like with every inch of my being. And I'll tell you why. Because he just loves it like us. He looks like a fan playing football. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. What I mean from it is just he goes out there and he fights. He knows what Man United versus Liverpool means. and you could see it. There's a brilliant video of him jumping into Onana's arms at the end, and he may have had a few choice words for the travelling Liverpool fans whilst he was hugging Andre Onana there. But what did you make of Scott McTominay's performance? Because he didn't really do a huge amount more in terms of in front of goal. Obviously, as it got towards the end of the game, he was struggling with cramp a bit, and he's doing the best that he could. But just genuinely, he was one of those players who would have ran through a brick wall for the team today, I thought.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, like you said, sometimes he doesn't get the credit he deserves. I think some games he does go under the radar, and I can see why people get frustrated. But I think, I go back to what I said earlier about turning up in the big games. He seems to turn it on. And I think back, seasons prior to this where he's, impressed and he's coming. And like you say, somebody that gets it, somebody that's grown up with the Man United way, that is willing to fight for it. And listen, you might not have the ability, and this isn't just McTominay, but as a general, you might not be the strongest player on the team, but if you make up for that with your work rate and your graft, and putting yourself about, then nobody can fault that. And like you said today, I think, he had a great game, and, like we talked about earlier, he got off to a good start. He got his goal. He seems to have a habit of popping up in sort of the important games, whether that's with a goal or, like a last-ditch tackle or something like that. But I think, it's an interesting time for him now. Obviously, he's matured a lot these last few years. He's kicked on as a player for me. And now it's just about, I suppose, for me personally, him getting that run consistently in terms of form and things like that. We've obviously seen the last few years he's built himself into the national side as well. That's obviously going to benefit him too. But I think, overall, can't be too disappointed today with what he did out there.
No, 100%. And Dan, the second half came and it began, and I thought we started it well. We looked like we were going out there and putting a lot of effort in. We had a couple of chances from what I can recall, and you could see that we were trying. We weren't just going to give up, and I thought that was really nice to see. And it got to a point where about 70 minutes in, Erik ten Hag decided he was going to make some changes. Now, I've got no idea how you felt about those changes. Matt will know exactly how I felt about those changes because I put into our group chat, what are these substitutions? I was not feeling full of the joys of spring. Wan-Bissaka coming off, and I thought he'd done all right, and on comes Harry Maguire. Don't mind Harry Maguire coming on, no dramas with that. And then Anthony steps onto the pitch to replace, if you please, Rasmus Højlund. Like, you started looking at some of the players he was taking off, and you're thinking, what are you doing? I can't believe you do it. Why? Why are you doing this? This is mad. And I was worried. I was genuinely worried because I felt like we were taking off all of the people he took off. I felt were people that were really going to help us to try and win this game. And actually, I didn't feel like the people he was bringing on were people that were necessarily going to improve us. Just goes to show why I'm not a UEFA licensed coach, and he is. What an unbelievable performance from Erik ten Hag, substitution-wise, that turned out to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the same as you. I thought, the only logic I had to him taking the people off was I thought maybe they're not fully fit. Maybe they only had 70 minutes in them. When Wan-Bissaka come off, Højlund come off, thought they've obviously said they could only play 70 minutes because that could have been the only reason for me to take them off when we're chasing a goal. But they proved everybody wrong. I think that was one of the things I enjoyed today. I think it was all the players that have been getting a bit of stick, getting a bit of flack from the fans and the media, whether it was Anthony, McTominay. I've even seen people having a bit of a go at Ahmad recently as well. And, just all the people just doing that just to, throw it back in everyone's face. And it was just nice to see. But nice to see from the manager as well, because he's had his fair share of criticism, and he got it today as well for the substitutions. But like you say, he proved us all wrong. So more than happy to be proved wrong.
100%. I mean, NT saying here that he thinks the subs were more out of necessity than pure tactics, but the way he played them did show tactical acumen. And actually, throughout the rest of the second half, and all of extra time, I think the way that he put the substitutions on and then changed the squad around, I don't think Klopp expected it. I think Klopp expected us, if we were getting into any of this, to step back, sit back, try and get them on the counter, the way that we've often played. And actually we didn't. We did try and step up to them. And I just loved the way that we were doing that. We weren't necessarily pressing as such, but there were some brilliant moments of people running back and trying to win the ball. But I feel like, I'm not sure Rasmus was anonymous, but he wasn't perfect. But he, again, is somebody who, could get a goal. And again, here with Wan-Bissaka, just when he was subbed, he seemed to be in beast mode, so I was a little bit on the worried side. But Anthony came on. I was worried he would play like he did against Wolves. Matt, breaking news. Anthony's got a right foot, boys. He's used his right foot to scooch it into the bottom corner. 2-2. What a moment.
Yeah. I think we take that, don't we? I think I find it difficult personally with Anthony. I just think there's more moments where you think, what on earth are you doing, than bloody hell, that was great, if that makes sense. And I think, listen, like you say, he's got right foot, he's rolled in, you take that. But I think, that's perfect there, work rate and effort, but question his ability. And I think the work rate and effort is there. I think for me, a lot of the time it's the end product of the decision making. And sometimes it just winds me up. Like, for me, just keep things simple. I think sometimes, him and even a couple of others, previous games, guilty of overplaying, just not doing basics. But I think, like that comment mentioned about, the effort and the work rate. I mean, fair play. Got the goal. It was an important goal as well. And as you mentioned there, Barry, the right foot as well. But I just feel like, just touching briefly back to substitutions, you mentioned him coming on with Maguire. Now, for me, again, I was similar to you. I looked and I thought, hang on, we've got Diallo on the bench. I don't think Mason Mount will come on by then. Eriksen, you're thinking, potentially, what are we doing? But it did work out in terms of the goal as well. An absolute genius substitution. So we'll take that all day long. It'll be interesting to see now, obviously, where Anthony goes from here in terms of kicking on, game, I could keep saying, against the local rivals as well. Hopefully doing well confidence-wise, and see what sort of, the last quarter of the season brings now.
I mean, this is it, isn't it? To get a goal against Liverpool, especially in a game that we then go on to win, can do wonders for your relationship with Manchester United fans. We don't tend to forget it. So, yeah, very good. But Dan, for Anthony there, I mean, the last time we saw him move in a 360-degree movement as he did there, the ball was attached to his left foot and he was just spinning around doing a little pirouette, and people were a little bit annoyed. This is the sort of spin that I don't think people are going to be too fussed about, because it really was just clever, because nobody in the world would have been expecting him to shoot with the right foot. And maybe that's what caused Kelleher to not get to it, because he wasn't expecting a little right foot banger. What did you make of Anthony's performance today?
Yeah, I thought he was excellent, actually. Even take away the goal, but obviously the goal was great. And I do think it caught people off guard because he took it with his right foot. But I just thought he was the most likely, even in extra time. I thought Anthony was picking up the ball, and yeah, it is predictable. He's going to try and come in on his left foot, but he was the only one really causing massive problems. And Ahmad as well, like both of them. Ahmad was kind of playing in the 10 role, wasn't he? And he was picking up good positions, and them two were the most likely to score, and obviously they did. But for me, Anthony, I think the bar's so low in terms of what we've seen from him so far, that a goal, a half-decent performance, are we maybe over-celebrating it and making it more than it is? I don't know, but I'll take him doing anything compared to what we've seen.
Celebrate a win against Liverpool?
Oh, I don't think so.
I'm not convinced we can over-celebrate on this glorious of days, St. Ahmad's Day, as it shall be henceforth known. Paddy's been relegated. It is most definitely the day of St. Ahmad. So, 2-2. It goes to extra time. Interesting question, and a short one for both of you. When we scored the second, what were you thinking? And by which I mean, were you sitting there going, I really hope that they blow the final whistle soon so we can have 30 minutes? Or were you thinking, we could try and nick this now? Because there was part of me that was just like, Actually, I just wanted the whistle to go. I thought I want the half hour now so we can have a whole 30 minutes to try and pull this back because I think Liverpool are on the ropes here. What did you two think?
No, well, I was going to say, well, I was thinking when the goal went in, I thought, right, let's just do extra time. Let's get extra time. But you could see after the goal went in, we had the momentum. Liverpool were rattled. They were on the ropes. It was like, we could really nick this, Like, I was thinking, because we looked tired as it was, I thought, are we going to just get played off the park for 30 minutes in extra time? So I was like, if there's a chance, let's take it. And obviously we got the chance. I think it turned out he was offside in the end. But, I would have preferred to have won it in 90 minutes if we could have done.
Matt?
Yeah, I think it was one of them sort of waiting for extra time, obviously scoring that close to the end. I think my first thought was obviously after scoring that, are we going to be vulnerable? Are we going to concede? We didn't. We kept it level, which was important. Took it to extra time, and then I think it was one of them. Obviously, they took the lead in the first in extra time. And it was a case of, like you said, Barry, obviously having been on top and having sensed like the atmosphere in the crowd massively changed, was like a real boost of energy from there. Like I say, to then go behind and go down was a kick in the teeth. Again, touching it earlier, a load of chances wasted, and then God knows what was it, his third, fourth, fifth chance. Rashford puts it in to equalise. And then I think it was just more relief and then hoping that we didn't go to penalties. And then obviously it grew and grew. And like I say, we got there in the dying seconds, the last kick of the game. So I think overall, I think the word to sum it up is relief, but just massively happy that, once we scored, we didn't just concede and we did manage to force that extra time and build from there.
Absolutely. I mean, Dan, Rashford had a very interesting sort of last 40 minutes of the match, really. He rolls that one wide, like you say. I think it was offside, just about, looking at it from the replays. But would you have rather that had gone in? Because I actually think the deflation of thinking you've won it in the last minute and then having it wiped off might have actually been worse than him just missing it. Because by missing it, he feels like, well, I've got to go on to do better. So it kind of, for me, would light a fire in me. I've got to go and try again. And he does have another go in extra time, but he slips that one wide as well before eventually he does obviously get one. But I mean, what did you make of Rashford's performance today? Because I know you've been, it's probably fair to say, a little bit critical of some of the attitude and effort that Marcus has put in. Was that enough for you today?
Yeah, I've been critical of a lot of the players' efforts, not just Marcus's, but yeah, Marcus frustrates me because we've seen what he can do. Last season he was excellent. You see it in glimpses, but just sometimes his body language. But what I did say today was I thought over the course of the 90 minutes, I didn't think he was that great, but I thought in extra time, it was everything I wanted from my forward. He led the line, he was holding the ball up, he was chasing everything. He was chasing lost causes, obviously got the goal. And I think you're right, Barry. I think it was that thing of missing that chance in the last minute that maybe spurred him on to have a good half an hour in extra time. And, it's always that thing where you just kind of hope that's going to push him on now to have a good end to the season. But, like I say, just sort of hit and miss with him at the moment. But credit where it's due. I thought he was really good in extra time.
No, absolutely. I think that's very, very, very true. Now, we get to extra time, as we said. It was horrible for the most part. We go 3-2 down. Again, that's before half-time of extra time. Bruno Fernandes has been put in as a centre-back, effectively, because you could see that Erik ten Hag didn't want to take him off in case it went to penalties because he's feeling this is a nailed-on scoring penalty. So we can't get rid of Bruno Fernandes. So he's having to hobble about and play like a quarterback, just give him the ball and let's see if he can smash it into the open corners. But we concede Harvey Elliott, and it comes off of Christian Eriksen's foot. He's trying to block the ball, a bit like Mainu did earlier on as well. Pass Onana, and again 3-2. Were you convinced, Matt, that we were going to come back? Because again, you just sort of feel like it's one of those gut punches. They've just nicked it out of nowhere. But we were, I think, during extra time, the better side.
Yeah, I'll not repeat what I said in the group chat, but yeah, I just think another deflected goal. Listen, obviously nobody means to do it. Obviously going in last minute to try and prevent the goal, but it's just scruffy, isn't it? It's so just, I don't know. I can't even describe it without swearing. That it's just a joke, and it happened twice. And I think I can't even describe. Like I say, it's annoying because it's happened twice and it's nearly cost us the game. Obviously, we got the fight back, and I think there was another one. I think it was Elliott again when he hit it with the outside of his boot and did it come off the post at a bar or something. And at that point, you're just thinking, "Oh God, like here we go again." But I think the fight back and the desire. I think somebody mentioned further up in the comments about we were at one point being broken against, and it was 4-2, and we managed to prevent that from becoming another goal. And I just think from that moment, it was kind of a turning point. Like the deflection, there's not a lot you can do about it. It's scruffy. It is what it is. And I think, to bounce back from that and sort of pick it up it was good. I think in terms of like the spirit, the fight back, the character, it's easy to get frustrated when it happens once, let alone twice. So overall, it was pleasing in terms of, like I say, the turnaround and, how the game panned out in the end.
Yeah, for sure. Dan, is that kind of how you were seeing it? Half time of extra time? Were you feeling confident that there'd be another chance or two for us and that we might be able to take it?
Yeah, I think we were creating enough to think that we could get another goal. The only thing I didn't like about their goal was that it was a bit of a lazy attempt at a block from Eriksen. I felt the first one in the first half, Manu did throw himself at the ball, and it was an unlucky deflection. But I just felt like Eriksen was just one of them where they just dangle a lazy leg to try and block it. They're not actually, going to block it. He just kind of hung his leg out there, and it just obviously they're the kind of ones I don't like because it's maybe a bit more committed to the block, and then it might not have went in. But no, I always thought we'd create more chances. I thought, especially in extra time, I really thought we were the better team. You could tell that they're playing more games than us. We are playing just one game a week at the moment, and I think you could tell that in extra time.
No, absolutely. So, as you might have noticed, if you haven't already, obviously, co-host is not here right now because he is still stuck in the office at work. Poor Dan. Imagine having to miss all of that because you were working. That is not ideal. But Matt stepped in admirably and helped us out, but he's got to go soon as well because he's got to go off to the airport. So we are just going to say goodbyes to Matt by simply fast-forwarding through the last sort of few questions for him, which was, number one, how delighted were you with Marcus Rashford's equaliser? Number two, quite how potty did you go when Ahmad finally put that into the net? And then question number three, how pleased were you when Ian Wright pulled out Coventry City? Because we don't often have that sort of luck when it comes to a semi-final.
Yeah, I think, I'll start with the Rashford goal, obviously, to get the equaliser. Absolutely buzzing. I think, like we've touched on it, and I've touched on it. It'd taken a while, and obviously, Dan said as well, sort of been critical this season. I think we've not seen for me like his full capabilities, like was alluded to before. At times, potentially look disinterested, but I think he's probably a weight off his shoulders a little bit getting that. The winner. You see, we had a game this afternoon. We had an early kickoff, so I was actually out watching it in a bar, and the place went mental. Literally, everyone was just going absolutely crazy. The last minute as well, there was pints all over the place. The actual typical football scenes. Everyone going wild, and then a couple of Liverpool fans in the corner sulking that were getting a few pelters as well. So for me, it was great. Like we'd actually lost. My team just lost our cup semi-final on penalties. So I was already in a mood, and then watching that game, just going through the motions, and then to get that in the last minute was just, absolutely unreal. So made the afternoon a lot better than what it should have been. In terms of Coventry, I think that'll be an interesting one. I was actually expecting to draw Chelsea, to be fair. I saw it and was like, it's going to be Chelsea. Thinking that City would get the easy pass and get Coventry. But yeah, I think I caught the highlights yesterday. They fought very well against Wolves. It'd be an interesting game. You know, fully expect us to go out there and win. And I know a lot has been mentioned, obviously with it being Mark Robins, the manager as well, ex-United player, and there's been a lot sort of made of that, and you know, him coming up against his old team. So yeah, look forward to that one in the semis now, and hopefully, you know, we can put in a great performance and get to a final and see who that brings us up against.
Absolutely that. Well, Matt, thank you very much for jumping on. We will let you dip so you can go and be taxi. So good luck to you. Safe trip. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
And everybody at home is going to give a silent round of applause. See you later, Matt. Right, so it's me and you. It's the Baldy brothers. Look at us go.
Baldy's definitely. Baldy's best.
Right. We've got to get back to it, Dan. Marcus Rashford's goal. I went potty. Like, I was so pleased for him because he's worked so hard, I think, in his last 2 games. And I think he's starting to get some of his rewards again. It's almost like he's jilted himself into action by doing the interview that he did. You know, he scored immediately after that. He scored again in this game now, and a massive goal at that. Yes, he had a couple of chances, but we used to say this about Andy Cole. He needs a few chances, but look how many he put away. And I think for this one, Marcus Rashford equalising was just everything that we needed it to be. And you could see just how much it meant to him as well. And I think this is the thing that often gets lost. Although we're obviously going to criticise if he's not doing well, equally, again, he's another one of those who is one of us, a Manchester United fan, but he's just got the ability to live out that dream.
Yeah, I thought with Marcus, you know, we've criticised him a lot recently where he doesn't look interested and things like that. But it wasn't like that today. Like, even when I say he didn't play particularly well in the 90 minutes, it wasn't like he wasn't trying. He was getting in good positions. You know, like I've said about Højlund on here before, where when he wasn't scoring, but he was getting in positions and he was missing chances. You know, they're good signs because they are going to start going in. The more chances you get, the more likely you are to score. But the one when Rashford was getting criticised, it was probably because he wasn't even getting in them positions. Whereas now, you know, today, my dad texted me. I think it was just before the second half of extra time. He's like, Rashford's got to score today. He's just lining them up. He's getting closer and closer with everyone, and he was absolutely right. But yeah, like I say, with Rashford, I just think today, even though I say he didn't play particularly well in the 90 minutes, but he was still making the runs. He was getting in the positions. It wasn't like a bad performance at all, really. And obviously, extra time, I thought it was immense, but I thought they were all immense in the extra time.
I think it was one of those where, again, we've been looking for a performance like this. And NT, I've seen your question about Ten Hag. We'll get to that in a bit. I've started it so we can have that conversation. But continuing with it chronologically, Amad Diallo came on. Now, I've been a bit annoyed about the amount of time Amad Diallo's been given. I feel like he is talking to Graham Falk about it, the guy we've had on the women's channel before, and he was on here because he's a Sunderland fan, and obviously Amad spent a fair whack of time last season at Sunderland, and he did really, really well. And he was saying how he's going to be such good talent, explaining to us all of the good things that he was seeing and how he genuinely thinks he's going to be one of the best in the world. And we're not giving him that time. Today, there were 2 things that I noticed about his game. The first thing was we were getting caught a little bit. Liverpool, to me, looked like they were starting to counter-attack a bit more. It was getting a bit scary. Sometimes the balls were coming up. It was bodies on the line stuff. And I just noticed Amad Diallo literally galloping back from up front to dispossess one of the Liverpool attackers to win the ball back and restart. The guy was doing what you would expect a holding midfielder to do. He was just up and down, box to box. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And then when it got to the goal, I thought he'd mucked it up. Like, I thought they'd mucked it up. There were 2 of them there. Garnacho, he's got the ball, and then you're thinking pass it, and he does, but the defender gets across quickly enough, and you're like, oh, is he going to roll it across to Garnacho? And if he had, there was somebody next to Garnacho, so the chances are that would have been just kicked away. So I was really like, oh, God, here we go. And then he doesn't quite catch it perfectly, but he just catches it right. And again, Callaghan, no chance whatsoever. And then even then, it started to hit the post before it rolled in. I mean, it was everything you would want a last-minute goal to be. It had the drama. I'm pretty sure it was in slow motion when it went in. It was literally one of those for me. And then in it goes, and that was it. I was dancing, Dan. What were you doing?
Jumping up and down, getting some funny looks off my family members in the house. They were all watching me. I was stressed all game, but when the goal went in, they were like, "Will you just sit down and calm yourself down?" I was like, "Do you realise what's just happened?" Ended up arguing, but just going, "Just leave us alone, let us celebrate." But no, I thought Ahmad was brilliant. I've kind of been one of them people saying about him and Pellistri. When Rashford wasn't performing, take Rashford out the firing line, get Ahmad on. If Rashford's not performing, but Ahmad can perform like that, why shouldn't he get more game time? So he's done his case, the world of good today. There's no reason he shouldn't be getting more game time, obviously, when he's not suspended.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, NT's mentioned about how he's fasting too, which is absolutely unreal to put that level of effort in with no food inside him, no real energy being put in. Was amazing. But then, of course, like you say, whilst all of that's being replayed and we're all sitting there going absolutely crazy. And the last time I think I celebrated as much as that was when Marcus Rashford scored against PSG with Ollie. I was properly up and giving it some then. Oh, yes, United are back. That wasn't quite to be. But, the red card bothers me. And it bothers me for a lot of reasons. It bothers me because now he's not even going to be in contention for a chance to play against Brentford. And you'd argue that's probably a game where he could well have been given minutes and been given a chance. So it's annoying from that perspective. But genuinely, I've never liked this rule about yellow cards for taking your top off. There's some people in the world who should leave their tops on. I agree with that. I'm probably one of them. Ryan
Me too. Me too.
Another. Nobody needs to see that rug. Because, to be honest, it still puts me off my dinner. But why? Why are we in a situation where, again, and it shouldn't even be that it's this emotional response, because that's just natural anyway. But why are they so bothered about somebody taking off a shirt? Like, it makes no sense. Why do you have to have a yellow card for it? And obviously, he'd already got a yellow card for something incredibly trivial. I think he stood in front of somebody who was trying to take a free kick, but he was taking the free kick in the United half, and the foul had happened in their half. So eventually, the guy takes the free kick from the correct position, but only because the yellow stood in front of it. Yet he gets the yellow card for that. So it was 2 yellow cards, and actually for both of them, like by the letter of the law, probably was a red card. But it just goes to show once again that the letter of the law is absolutely ridiculous, because there's no way he should have been sent off today, is there?
No, I think with the shirt coming off, if fair enough, that's a rule, right? Let's just accept that. But when it comes to certain situations, you've got to think, use common sense somewhere. Like what he's just achieved, what he's just done. It's not like he's just scored the 6th goal in a 6-0 demolition of Accrington Stanley, and he's took his shirt off. He's just scored the winner in the biggest game of our season. Stopped Liverpool winning this quadruple that they keep harping on about. All that kind of stuff. Like, when you put it all into context, the referees should be able to use some common sense, but I just worry about it because they're taking the joy out, and it's been like that for a while, hasn't it? And then obviously you add VAR to it and stuff as well. It was like the winning goal, the Ahmad goal. I was still waiting for them to try and pull it back for a foul somewhere, or so you are celebrating, but in the back of your mind you're just thinking, VAR might have something to say about it, and
absolutely
get you paranoid.
And I agree with this, Jennifer. I've got to be honest. Red cards for removing shorts, maybe, because that feels like a bit of a harder thing to do. If you're running about and all of a sudden you're like, hey, shorts up, you've got to take both legs out before you can start swinging that around. I feel like there's a lot more consideration that's gone into that. But shirts, like we saw Chloe Kelly do it for the Lionesses when they won. It's just like, why would you not allow people to celebrate when it's such a big moment? Like, the poor sod has had virtually no time at United. And we think so much about people like Michael Owen scoring in the last minutes against Man City, Ollie Solskjaer, obviously, in 99. You think about these moments and they're massive and they just get ruined. Like, he should have been on that pitch, getting the applause, the plaudits, being thrown up in the air, being given the bumps, everything should have been happening. Instead, he's had to go back to the dressing room and not be there on the final whistle. And I can't. It really does annoy me. And I know Twillen was saying the ref wanted the attention. I don't agree with that. I don't tend to fall down on the side of believing that refs are wanting attention in that respect. But I do think he's interpreted the law as he's meant to, and that was just very annoying.
I don't necessarily think it's the ref's fault. He's following the rules at the end of the day. It's the rules that are wrong. The referees are just there to, most of the time, to enforce them. So it's the people who are writing the rules that haven't got a clue. That obviously have never kicked a ball in their life, probably.
No, absolutely. And here I remember Diego Forlan taking his shirt off against Liverpool, I think, and not being able to get it back on. I remember that too. It was great fun.
I remember that.
Forlan,
it was the white kit, wasn't it? The white kit.
It was. And I think one of the goals was a penalty. And they'd given it to him and said, just score, because he'd gone something like 26 games without scoring. It was quite something. And then, boom, off that went. And here we go. You can't win a treble or quadruple without all three of the Premier League title, Champions League and FA Cup. The Scousers are on the wind-up. Well, they can't. They can't win it anyway because they've not got the FA Cup. So just three more things for them to be dropped out of, and that will be hilarious. So that was that one. It took us to the end. How big do you think of a result this is? I mean, we'll come to NT's question as well here. He's got the feeling that if Ten Hag's job was on the line with Ineos, or at least been assessed until the end of the season, today might have saved his job. What does everyone else think? And the reason why I like the question is because the FA Cup has the ability, I think, to save some people's careers. You look at Alex Ferguson and Mark Robbins, ironically, being the person that scored the goal that won us the FA Cup, that in folklore has left us in a situation where Sir Alex Ferguson kept his job. Now, Mark Robbins scores that goal. Ironically, Mark Robbins is now going to be coming back to Wembley so that Coventry can face Man United, and we will get to that in a second. But could Erik Ten Hag's job have been saved by getting such a good result against Liverpool? We've got to play him again in a few weeks. But I don't know, if I'm honest with you. I think it's a big step. Absolutely. I agree with Jennifer, who'd said earlier on, we're sacking too many managers. I've said it all along. We need to keep Ten Hag for now. There's nobody else out there who I'm really chomping at the bit to get. I think he just needs to be given a chance with a proper structure above him. And he's shown today that he does have the ability to tactically outwit some of the best managers in the game. And if he can do a bit more of that, then the optimism that was there at the start of the season, for me, could absolutely be back again next season.
Yeah, I think with Ten Hag, I think it was an important performance. More than the result, obviously, is important as well. But the performance shows that they were fighting for him, they were playing for him. Especially them first 20 minutes, I think 25 minutes, that's exactly how Erik Ten Hag wants to play. So they can implement it when it suits them. When he's got them firing, when he's got them fit enough, he's got the players back. And I wouldn't necessarily say it saved his job, because I would say when you're at Man United, you're probably only 3 or 4 bad results away from the sack regardless anyways. If you lose 4 games, 4-0, you're probably sacked, aren't you, or something. So I don't necessarily think it saved his job, but it's definitely helped his cause by like a lot. And I think it was more the manner of the game, the way we come back from behind as well. And we've seen the team give leads away. We've seen teams roll over. even just this season, you know. So to see them doing that, coming from behind, putting the performances in, running the socks off like Garnacho, McTominay, you know, ran solid for 120 minutes. You know, to see that Ineos must see that as well, and see that Ten Hag's got these players on side. You know, they're playing for him, they're playing for the fans, and that's all we can ask for, really.
And I don't want to focus on negatives because I don't think it's a day for negatives. But this is the sort of game that makes you go, "Where's that been?"
Yeah.
Like if we approached every single game with the attitude, the endeavour, the effort, the never say die attitude, and we have had that, to be fair. You know, we've come back and drawn and won against teams like Nottingham Forest. We have had those late goals, but where has it been? If we'd have had that, it would have just been such a different season, I think.
Yeah, what I didn't understand today was it wasn't even like where's that been the rest of the season. It was how comes we had the first 25 minutes, half an hour, we were excellent. Then where was that fight for the next hour? You know, we barely laid a glove on them in the second half. You know, barely touched them. Obviously, we got the late equaliser, and then we were good again in extra time. It's like it's just spells in matches where, you know, 1 minute we look like we're a proper football side. You know, we're taking it seriously, we're giving it everything, and then the next minute we're not even touching. Like it's like token efforts, closing players down, and like I say, it's all in game. It's not even from game to game. You know, a full 90 minutes. It's 15 minutes to 20 minutes to 25 minutes, and yeah, I just can't weigh it all up, to be honest.
No, I think I'm with you on that one. So yeah, Coventry City. It's going to be. I mean, I love Ian Wright. I liked Ian Wright anyway, but the minute he pulled us out there against him, I was like, I'll take that. That's good. And, you know, for obvious reasons, it's a brilliant thing for United. Both the men and the women have made it to FA Cup semi-finals now. Now, for the women, obviously, they're going to be facing Chelsea, which are currently the best team in England. So, therefore, we kind of knew that was going to happen. That was kind of what we expected. And I bring that up because, obviously, here, we were looking at the two teams that were left, being Chelsea and, of course, Manchester City. And you think to yourself, well, we're bound to get one of them two. So to be drawn against Coventry was quite a thing. Is there a danger that we're all overlooking them already? Because Jamie Carragher's already come up to try and respond to Gary Neville's brilliant cheering the goal that Ahmad scores, to give it the old, don't worry, you'll get thumped by Man City in the final, so it's not the win you think it's going to be. Obviously, he's hurting, and obviously he needs to throw his toys out the pram a little bit there. But it's one of those, isn't it? Even he is looking at this game and going, Coventry, it shouldn't be a problem. Coventry showed yesterday just how difficult they can be. I watched that game. It was one of the worst games I've ever watched in terms of finishing. It was atrocious. Both sides, the shots were straight at the goalkeeper when they were coming in. I'm pretty sure it was a Coventry player, the guy who scored, Sims, had an open goal. The ball's come across him. All he's got to do is side foot it in. He's kicked it at the goalkeeper who stood on the post. It was harder to do that than it was to put it in. It was unreal. But the last 20 minutes of that match, unbelievable. Once again, because you think it's going to penalties. They'd got it to extra time, which you weren't expecting to happen. No, they didn't go to extra time. That was the whole point. It was done in normal time.
You thought it was going to extra time, didn't you?
Added on. Yes. So Wolves go 2-1 up. And then, oh my gosh, absolutely unreal. They levelled it up, which I did not expect. I was sat there. We just made it at this point. I hadn't started drinking. I just made it to Lang's, the place where we were drinking. And I was watching it on my phone because I was determined to see it out. And like I said, when they equalised, I'm thinking, extra time. Don't know what we're going to do here. My niece is going to start singing soon. I don't want to be messing about trying to watch blinking Wolves against Coventry. And then the goal that they scored to win it was the best goal of the game. They were really very resolute. Obviously, the Ball Boys are going to have to watch out around Wembley because, you know, Mark Robbins might end up celebrating in front of them if they manage to score a goal. But we have got to be careful, haven't we? We can't underestimate Coventry. We've still got to go there, be professional, and do the business because, with all due respect, some of these teams that we've been expected to go in there and batter have been the ones that have caused us the most difficulty.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, you know, people don't really, they're just looking at obviously Saturday's result yesterday, against Wolves, but Coventry are actually a decent side. They lost in the playoffs last season, I think, if I'm right. Sure, Luton beat them on penalties, was it last season, to get in the Premier League, and they are a good side. They're a good footballing side. Mark Robbins has done a good job there. And obviously they were a Premier League side for a long time in the 90s. I remember them. They used to cause us a lot of trouble back in the 90s, back in the Fergie days with Darren Huckabee up front. I remember it.
Was it Steve Grizovic in goal?
It was Steve Grizovic. Richard Shaw at the back with the dreadlocks. I remember it. They had a good team and they always caused us a bit of trouble. But the thing with us is, and I said this before the game today, depends which one of us turns up. If we turn up like we did today and play like that against Coventry, we'll beat them comfortably. But it depends, will it be the second half that played against Newport? It just depends. Like, you just don't know, do you? But I think there is a danger. People will be looking past it. But for me, I won't be. I won't take any of it for granted because, like I say, you just don't know which United's turning up.
I tend to agree. If you haven't already, it'd be lovely if you could like and subscribe. That'd be absolutely wonderful. We've thrown that up there intermittently throughout the show. Do you think we'll beat them? I know you said which one turns up matters, but if you were to predict it now, because I think we're making the final.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. I think if we don't, it's a monumental bottle job,
isn't it? I imagine,
and that's putting it polite. That's putting it politely.
In Coventry.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine putting all that effort in today in that game against the Scousers, and then getting beaten off Coventry in the semi-final. But I'm not going to lie, I was half expecting Man City to get drawn out against us, to be honest. I said it all day. I said we'll probably beat Liverpool and we'll draw Man City in the semi-final and it'll all be voided anyways.
Ian Wright has absolutely nailed it for us. And, could be good. And we've just shown, I said to my mum before she said, do you think we'll win? And I went, do you know what? So if we get an early goal, we could be in with a shout. I really do. But other than that, no, probably going to lose it at this rate, if I'm honest, because I just thought, based on everything that we've done so far. And it turned out to be completely wrong. And it wasn't because of the early goal. The early goal should have been the chance to build the momentum. We didn't. But no, really, really pleased with that. That was an absolutely fantastic win. They went for Ahmad as the player of the match. Now, this kind of annoys me a little bit because he wasn't on for the whole match and he's just come on and scored a goal. He was good, don't get me wrong. As you said, they were all heroes. But I just don't think we could actually give that to Ahmad. So I'm intrigued to know who you think would be the player of the match, because I think there was lots of people. Anana made some saves. I was a bit annoyed with his one that he just palmed out straight to Salah for that goal. That wound me up a little bit. Because I felt like that should have been pushed over or put wide. But other than that, I think he had a superb game once again. Wan-Bissaka was superb at left back. I think Victor Lindelof, again, went out there and put his effort in. You put his heart on the line and his body on the line. Wan, I thought, was okay. I wouldn't necessarily have put him in the top 5, but I thought it was all right. Gallo, again, fighting for the cause. McTominay, superb. That's one man. Everywhere you go through that team today, it's really difficult to pick one. But that's your job. What are you going to do? Who are you going to pick?
I'll do my honourable mentions first. I'll do McTominay and Garnacho and my honourable mentions because they played the full 120 minutes and they didn't stop running. They didn't stop trying. Even for Ahmad's goal, I've watched it back that many times. I didn't realise that just behind both of them on the break, Garnacho and Ahmad, Anthony and McTominay were right behind them as well. So, even after all that time, McTominay was right up behind them, keeping up with the play. So they were my honourable mentions, but I think it's impossible to not pick Kobe Mainoo. I thought he was brilliant. I know he come off on 70 minutes, 75 minutes, but that first half, he just looks like he's been playing there for years. He just glides past people. He makes what some of our other midfielders make look a hard job look very easy. So Mainu would be mine.
Do you know what? I can't believe we haven't spoken about Mainu, because I just remember watching throughout that first half. And like you see, he does glide past them. The footwork that boy has got is unbelievable. It genuinely just beggars belief how good he is with his feet. The ball is just under his spell. Absolutely is. So I think that's a really good shout. I kind of wanted to give it to McTominay.
Mm.
And I think I wanted to give it to him just purely, again, like I say, it's just he's got his game face on. You can just see it. Everything he's doing, flying into tackles. And at the end, like I said, the fact that he was getting crampy set up a couple of chances as well at the end. And he had one that he missed as well, bless him. But just lying on the floor, and you could just see the absolute cramp just literally taken over. But he didn't stop. He kept going. He's like, I'm going to pay for this. This is going to hurt in a minute, but I'm still doing it.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed as well, but when he set up Rashford's goal, he obviously got the ball, set Rashford up, and then went down injured as soon as he passed Rashford the ball.
I thought it was that one, but I didn't want to say it just in case I was wrong. But yes, exactly.
No, it was. Summed him up. Like I say, I could have gave it to any of the three that I mentioned.
And then you see it. See, Rashford's off celebrating, and Scott McTominay's lying there going, "That's it. I'm done. I'm dead. My legs hurting." But that was the level of effort, and this is what I'm saying. These people have done this today, and if they just had that level of intensity and effort for every game in the season, it'd be unbelievable. So yeah, we need that again when we get to the next game. But excellent stuff. Right, let's just see what some of the people have said here. Jennifer Jordan saying give it to all of them because it was a team effort. Twilumber, I think, agreeing with you there. Well deserved on Kobbie Mainoo. And Jennifer Jordan suggesting that he should have a release clause of £200 million.
500.
Which is unheard of in football, but I would agree because that boy needs to. This is the problem, though, isn't it? Actually, because what happens next? Do we get to a point with Kobbie where we go, do you know what? You've been superb. Here's another contract. Because this is where we go wrong as a football club. For me, absolutely, we've got to give him a contract, sign him up, get him tied down to the club. But all of the money needs to be in bonuses. It needs to be in get yourself this many goals, you'll get this. Appear in this many matches, you'll get this. I think we have to do that. Because if we just say to him, like, oh, it's $100,000 a week or whatever it is, because you're turning out to be a really good player, that's how we end up seemingly. It seems certainly with some of the players we've had recently, that's how we seem to sort of lose them.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I think with Garnacho as well, that's what they kind of need to do as well, and just not give them too much money too soon, because, like I say, we've seen the damage it can do. And I think with Mainoo, as far as a release clause goes, I think if we ever sold him, I think there'd be an uproar in the fan base, to be honest, even if we got offered 500 million.
Sorry, I'm just doing some sums here, which I didn't think I was going to have to do. Because NT's just put here, we've forgotten that he's still only 18 and playing better than some players with 30 times his experience. And I've just done 30 times 18, and of course that's 540. So in terms of life experience, I think that's true. Even if you were just being kind and saying, well, he's been with Man United for a few years, maybe 5, I think just a lot of. I get what you're saying, NT. I get what you're saying, mate. 540 years, crikey. I felt 540 this season, I'll tell you that. There we go. Good stuff. Right, well, I think that is a good place to leave it. It's been a bloody brilliant day.
It has.
I put on my Twitter, he was going for 50 but mistyped. Fair enough. That would have been what? I don't even want to think what that is. 8 4.
A lot more.
A lot more. 420, 520, 600, 700. Mad. Absolutely mad. I put on my Twitter, Carlsberg don't make birthday presents, but if they did, today would have been absolutely the one. It was superb. So there we go. Dan, throw your info out. What would you like to tell people about all of the things you do?
Yeah, I've got a podcast on Spotify, and I've just started my YouTube channel. It's called Be the Best Version of Yourself. It's about me detailing my struggles with gambling addiction, epilepsy, mental health, and then basically just anything else I kind of want to sound off around as well. Yeah, so if you could all find me on there, I'm on Twitter/X now, Instagram, and I've got a TikTok as well at Dan Bateman, as you can see on there. If you can follow me on there as well. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Barry.
No, thanks for joining us, mate. As ever, there's lots of people that I admire, people that keep sitting there going Twitter/X, but we all just, it's always going to be Twitter, isn't it? It's never going to.
Yeah.
Elon can keep trying to call it X, it's never going to work. What are you doing at the moment? I'm on X. No.
What's X? Twitter.
Exactly that. On that note, actually, Dan, I was thinking about you in the car on the way home, which is not something I do daily, I have to be honest. But as I was listening to, I'll say it quietly because people might start lose some street cred. But I was listening to TalkSport, obviously, on the way back because, well, it's a radio station, isn't it? And the football was about to start, so I needed to listen to something 15 minutes before the women's game kicked off. Anyway, there was a break. So they were doing their chat. It was the journalists that were having the chat. And I noticed in the adverts 3 different betting companies in the advertising. And it just genuinely it made me think of you, because I just thought, you talk so passionately about everything that's gone on with you, and so openly as well. And it seems mad to me that it's just that open, just that brazen, that they're going to throw, like I say, 3 adverts, and that was every single break that they're having. It's just massive there. So get on there, have a little listen to what Dan talks about, and if that's you, definitely have a listen, because Dan's been there, done that, and there's a brilliant post that you put out there of you. Was it a couple of years ago?
What was that? Sorry. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah,
A
couple of years ago.
And it's just a different guy. And I've got to be honest, I didn't know that guy, but I like this one. So that is good news. And how about this? Do you know what? I've not seen your name before. You just come wandering in here, giving it if Carlsberg did Phil and Grant Mitchell. And it's the comment of the night. If Carlsberg did Phil and Grant Mitchell, this is how it should look. I kind of feel like we should do that dance they were doing, in the old Queen. I mean, to be fair, my accent's more likely to get there. I don't know how can you do Cockney? You're any good at that?
Not really.
Get out of my pub. Do it something like that.
Get out of my pub.
It's a good try. Yeah, we'll work on that. See how
we'll work on it.
But yeah, absolutely. Oh, hello. I think Barry's probably Phil and Danny's Grant, but I'm happy to compromise. I like that. I like the idea of being Phil. I've never been intimidated in my life. But I'll give it a go. It's the beard, isn't it? So there we go. But I'll give it a crack. Absolutely. Why not? Wondered where you were going with that. Oh, yes. See, he's done it as well. Carlsberg and Phil and Grant Mitchell. Yeah, it's just superb. Love it. There we go. That's why we want you people on it. It's absolutely superb. Oh, it was Graham, the Folkmeister. What a dude. Love him. He did it on his other one. There we go, on his streaming account. Good old Graham. We love Graham. He's a laugh. He's a giggle. So there we go. Excellent stuff. Right. Well, it's been an absolute delight. But we're going to wind it up there. What a day. I just don't really know what to say. I'm going to bed. I'm spent. That's it. I'm done now. I'm going to go there and dream happy dreams of Amad Diallo. I've said it once. I've said it twice. I've said it 1,000,001 times. I'll say it again. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Happy Saint Amad Day. Amad Diallo, you are not the weakest link. You are just bloody brilliant. And we've made it to the FA Cup semi-final. We're on our way to Wembley. Go on, United. See you soon.